All right, today is the day of the shoot. I'm going to film a two-person interview in Vail, Colorado. Here's my bag that I'll be taking with me. My actual carry-on will be the Pelican 1535, one of my A-cam setups, and the other person traveling with me will have the other Pelican. So we kind of had to stuff as much as we could into individual bags. This is actually the Peter McKinnon bag. Inside of here, let me show you. Inside of here, just got a few, extra stuff, toiletries, just got a little hair comb. Got a V-mount charger, additional cables in here, phone charger, iPad charger. Got a Canon LPE, bunch of batteries in here for my 502 Bright. Have a few Sony NPF batteries for the Small HD 702 Touch that we'll be bringing with us. And I have portable charger and toothpaste, all the essentials. There goes one of my cats. And on the other side, you don't need to see that, but it's my clothes. So we're gonna be there for roughly 2 days. If we're running behind, we might extend it to 3, but I packed enough to where everything that I need, clothes and stuff, is all inside of this bag. It's kind of stupid because I have this giant coat because it's gonna be very cold in Colorado. I'm gonna look like an idiot, but I guess I'm just gonna have to wear this on the plane with me because it's not fitting in this bag, and because of weight issues, it can't fit in one of the checked bags either. So, oh, and one more additional Ulanzi travel tripod that I'll be bringing. All right, so time to head over and grab all the gear, and in a few hours, we'll head out and get to the airport. My car is stuffed to the max. My bad. I don't need this equipment, but I accidentally left it in. I got the 2 carry-ons. I've got the 2 giant Pelicans in my car, and I'm wearing a big, heavy Peter McKinnon backpack. So, yeah, this is a lot of gear. I need a bigger car, man. Almost at DFW airport.
In 2 miles,
gonna wait for my second shooter to arrive, and then because I'll need to take 2 trips out of my car. He has the actual cart we're gonna be using, so yeah. Just took a picture of my gate and level. All right, now I've got to walk these ginormous cases over to the terminal, and then once my second shooter is there and I meet him, I need to bring the carry-on Pelican. So I'll be taking 2 trips from my car. Time to roll. So I did a quick weigh-in for these cases, and yep, one of them is definitely over 50 pounds. That's not an issue because I have this guy, my old media badge, which really helps me, at least when it comes to checking in gear, because a lot of the overage fees are waived, and overall they let you carry more things onto the plane. So highly recommend if you don't have it, but it works for me. Dropped off all the gear that needs to be checked in. Now I gotta walk to my car and get the Pelicans, because no point if you don't have the cameras. All right, so checked into the hotel, got the rental car. We actually had time to go visit the actual shoot location, so we went there as well. Got a little bit of the space. I gotta say, low-key, I'm a little stressed because the room we're shooting in is very tight. We have to feature the home gym machine, and we need to film for 9x16 because that's what the deliverable is gonna be. But I know how they're gonna act, so they're gonna want the 16x9 as well. So it's gonna be a little tight. It's gonna be kind of hard, but I'll figure it out.
It is gonna kind of feel nice to be able to tell Peter tomorrow.
Alarm just went off, and I am so tired. It's time for coffee. Damn, look at this view from this coffee shop. It's pretty wild. Alright guys, just like every other shoot, I love to start with building cameras first, because then I don't have to worry about it again. I had to build 3 FX3s for this shoot, as the main deliverable we're shooting is a 2-person table talk sort of interview. 2 of our cameras could just stay built up, since honestly, a lot of shoots that I do, 1 camera is usually enough for everything. Unless you need a close-up angle or you're filming a wedding, but I've done a ton of single camera shoots, and everything works out fine. It's honestly less to worry about because there's less cameras. One FX3 I built up on rails with a V-mount plate, and the other I used the brand new small rig V-mount folding plate. I highly recommend it because using rails can be such a pain because the footprint is just bigger, it's more pieces to assemble, and honestly this V-mount folding plate, it folds up so small and compact that it's an awesome system to have. I really recommend it. The last camera I built essentially was our run and gun camera with the Ulanzi F38 plate. So it's easy to go from tripod to gimbal to handheld. This quick release plate is my favorite because it saves so much time because I hate unscrewing plates. As we got into the location, we immediately noticed how dark this place was, especially since the home gym machine was right against the window. I hate clipping my highlights, it just screams video when I see bright white skies. So my solution ended up actually using our 2 Aperture 300Xs that we brought and bouncing them right into the ceiling, providing some natural looking fill, which helped a lot. Nothing like some set dressing, right? After redecorating the office a bit, we went right into B-roll. The talking head pieces will include B-roll of specific exercises, so we decided to get that out of the way first. Using our setup, B-roll was pretty easy to do, as the subject essentially stayed in the same place, working out on the machine. The only challenging part was finding new angles that look good every time. We shot for about 2 hours with 2 different subjects, and I constantly kept trying to find new angles and shots with a mixture of handheld and gimbal work. I like how smooth gimbals can be, but I feel like they also look kind of robotic, and I feel like I'm slower using them because I don't have that control. So there were times where I ditched the gimbal just so I had more control over my camera movement and also so I could speed it up a little bit since we're on a time crunch. But let me know what you guys think about gimbals. I use them just because you can get a lot of shots very steady in a very short amount of time as opposed to like a slider or something else like that, but handheld is my go-to when I can. After we finished the B-roll, we broke for lunch at this really good hole-in-the-wall Mexican restaurant. I was genuinely surprised that Colorado, of all places, had good tacos. But after lunch, we began setting up for the interview. Me and the producer took a minute figuring out what our frame should be. We probably took about an hour to set up. One thing that really sucked was that our frame was so tight since it was for 9x16, but also we were shooting horizontal just because that 16x9 is something that could be used as a bonus piece, so we decided to shoot it that way instead of just shooting everything vertical. So we made it work by just giving us a ton of space behind the camera. So I was able to push this main wide camera really far back so that the subjects could both be seen in a 9x16 frame. After that, we started positioning our other 2 cameras as tight angles for each individual speaker. So that's our frame without any lighting right now. After moving the machine and positioning the chairs for our frame, we could finally work on the lighting. The phone doesn't capture it right, but this room was very small. We had to position one of our Aperture 300Xs in the doorway on the right side of the room. That thankfully it led into a hallway and not directly outside. But we did have to place a sign outside to make sure no one was using this back entrance, but it all worked out. I positioned my lights in a cross-key lighting position, where essentially one person's key light will be the other person's hair light, and vice versa. As always, I try to shoot from the shadow side of the face, which meant that the lights were on the other side. I played with the footage a little bit, and while I did have to raise up the shadows a tiny bit in post, even the master wide still looked pretty good. And the best part was that the light actually looked motivated since the window was right behind them. So it gave the illusion that they were actually being lit from natural light, which honestly, it's the goal.
So Ben, can you
Used the wireless pros for the first time. This gave me so much trouble with the locking pin. It was really weird. It wasn't working. Need to do more testing with these definitely. But can't boom them because the frame is so wide. This is why I hate filming for 9x16. But yeah, I have to love them. And this is the final setup. 2 Aperture 300Xs with the Light Dome 3, 3 cameras, and a home gym machine placed right in the center. Unfortunately, we had to place this machine in the shot for branding reasons, but I think it came out pretty well considering the restrictions. You can see that outside of the 9x16 frame on my main camera, you can actually see the stands and the lights, but I'm sure that with generative fill AI, it's doable to expand the master wide camera to have a 16:9 version if it's ever requested. Unfortunately, you're gonna have limitations. You can't have it all, especially in rooms like this that were pretty cramped. I'm still very happy of how it came out. All right, so we wrapped for the day. We were extending our trip by 1 additional day just because, yeah, we were just running a little bit behind. Things happen. I know we have to deliver, so we extended our trip by 1 additional day. Honestly, less stress on me because we have more time to focus on the shots, more time to focus on the composition, getting additional B-roll, and overall just making this the very best it can be. So I'm okay with it. Just woke up. I get to see this amazing view of the mountains, of the snow. Wow, it is so pretty here. And for day 2, we started immediately back with the rest of the episodes. And while I'm okay with using the gaff tape triangle method, I've actually been looking at these Bumblebee Lav concealers, and I'm really considering using them over the gaff tape triangle method. And while it worked okay, I heard a little bit of clothing rustle, and from what I've seen, these concealers help minimize rustle while also giving you a really good way to hide the mic. But as for the Rode Wireless Pro system itself, I think they did great. There were a few dropouts I heard, which is unfortunate, but these mics also record 32-bit float internally, so I really wasn't worried about the dropout. Since of how autosync works with most video editing softwares, it's really not that hard to sync 3 cameras with the better 32-bit float recording over what's internally in the camera. After finishing through the last episodes, we broke down some of the gear so it wasn't in the way, and we started to film some more B-roll of the main doctor we're trying to highlight. I'm gonna be following you, and action. I almost ate shit running in the snow, and we got some skiing footage of her and her family to kind of build her piece out, but honestly, these were all bonus pieces of content because I believe in going above and beyond. I think it's really important. Not only does it feel really satisfying to exceed client expectations, but it also gets you hired back. It's actually crazy how water resistant the FX3 is. It's nice to have a camera that can take some mild rain, or in this case snow, and not even skip a beat.
Okay, we got it on here. There we go. So when we got here, so then they thought.
Once we got back, we had one final piece to film, a single-person interview with a professional skier who I'm kind of blanking on what he was exactly, but I believe he was on the B or C team of the Olympics. So it was actually pretty cool talking to him. He was a super chill guy, really easygoing. There was a skiing game on beta for this fitness machine, and we actually had this guy play the game and do a little testimonial piece about it. And honestly, me and the producer were exhausted, but we had one more final setup to do. This one was surprisingly tricky as it got a lot darker since when we first started filming, so now reflections were becoming an issue. I thought a single softbox and light combo would work, but unfortunately behind him, there was a window, and it was showing the softbox in the original shot. I basically had to nix that approach and do a very similar method to how we lit the B-roll. We ended up actually using the hyper-reflectors on the 300Xs aimed at the white walls to create our key. Well, I guess the image could be seen as kind of flat. It still allowed for enough exposure on the subject and making him pop from the background, which for me was super important. Here's a clip of me basically up against the wall. I just think it's funny how much as DPs and videographers, we sacrifice our own comfort for the shot. I wouldn't want to be shoved against the wall,
but it also had the best framing, the least reflections, and it looked the best, so I shoved myself against the wall. One thing I will say about these Ulanzi tripods though, they are great for portable static shots, but they suck for panning or for tilting. I hated having to adjust them when I was setting up this interview. I remember having so much trouble using the tilt function on these Ulanzi tripods because the cameras were a little bit heavier because they had V-mount plates on them. I kind of had to aim a little higher than what I wanted the tripods to do because they would actually dip a little bit even after I locked the tilt function. After the interview, it was officially a wrap for us. It was satisfying but also tiring breaking down all of this gear, getting it travel ready again, rearranging the furniture to how it looked before. This shoot was honestly exhausting for me. A lot of back-to-back shoot days, and while I can say I was the DP, I also felt like I wore multiple hats. I did some directing, also try to keep things on schedule, and honestly, I really have to thank Ben, the producer, for all of the help as well. Even though it felt like a lot of the pressure was on me to make this look good, he did a great job of doubling as a PA, talking to the talent, being a camera op when needed, asking interview questions, and also helping us stay organized. It was a great team effort, which, for filmmaking, is essential. After packing up, we basically wrapped. We needed to get some footage of Vail, Colorado the next morning, but that was literally just me and a gimbal while the producer kept the car warm. So I didn't even bother getting BTS of this since we were kind of on a time crunch for the airport that next day.
Another early day, just scrambling to pack everything up so we can go film some B-roll, check out of the hotel, and then head back to Dallas. Everything is just covered in snow. This will be fun. The car looked like this at first, and no snow scraper, so I had to just use my sleeves and I'm caked in snow.
It was a long, hectic day of travel getting out of Vail, Colorado. We ended up staying in multiple airports as the flights kept getting delayed because of the weather. So we definitely ended the shoot tired, but in high spirits. This shoot was crazy, but I was glad with what we were able to do with a 2-person crew on limited time, while also traveling and being in an entirely new location. Anyway, see you guys.